Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be about my personal interview experience. So I know for beginning and new teachers, and for any teacher that's trying to switch maybe to a new school or to a new state or whatever it is, it's the kind of the time of year where everyone's starting to look and get ready to apply and interview for new jobs. So I'm just here to give you my interview experience. Now, the beginning of my interview experience is kind of tragic and, you know, all my fault, but I also was lucky enough. I only had one interview, and it was for the school that I really wanted to be at, so I didn't interview anywhere else for more than one reason, which you'll hear about later in the video. So instead of blabbing, I'll just go ahead and get started. When it was about this time of year last year, like almost exactly this time of year last year, I started to contact some of the schools that I was interested in. Now, I was going to school in Fort Myers, Florida, and I wanted to work in a different part of Florida. So, which already makes things difficult because you can't like go in and show your face, which is what is suggested to do. So I had to contact by emails and phone calls. So I first contacted, there's really only 4 elementary schools in the area that I was looking for. So I didn't have that many options, which was also really hard for me because I was coming from an area where the school district was so huge, and then the recruiters from the school district were like, you know, coming to us, and they really wanted the students from my university to come work in their school district. And then I was coming from a totally reverse situation where I really had to make sure and put myself out there in order to be considered or to get an interview or anything like that. Every time I sent an email out to principal, they were like, yeah, we're happy that you're interested. Just go ahead and fill out the online application system. So I did that, and I waited and waited. On the website that they use for the district that I was putting my application in for, you can see all of the jobs, and you can you basically do one long application, and then you just kind of select where you want those applications to go to, so what schools you want those applications to be sent to. And then you can also see when new positions get posted, and they send you an email when they've hired someone for the position, so you kind of know like, okay, yeah, you're not getting interviewed for that, or you didn't get selected, or whatever the situation is. So I was, you know, checking the website consistently, and noticed that, you know, there weren't too many jobs available for the elementary area that I was interested in. At this time, I did have a preference. You know, I did really want 2nd grade. That was where I really wanted to go for. That was my goal. But then when it starts getting down to the wire, you're just like, I just want to be in elementary school. Just give me a job, and, you know, I'll put all my effort in for that position, whatever it is. Well, eventually I graduated from my university, and I moved to the part of Florida that I really wanted to teach in, and it was an area that my parents were living in already. My boyfriend was also already here, so it was an easy, like, I had somewhere to stay, you know, it was easy move for me. And then so I was just at this point where I was like, okay, I really need to get a job. So I just spent a lot of times sitting around waiting, and like about halfway through the summer, I just kind of got really worried, especially because all of my friends from my university were all getting hired and having interviews for their jobs. So I'm a planner, and like this was just not going the way I planned, the way I thought it would. And so I was really starting to freak out, and I was I was like, what if I don't get hired? Like, what am I gonna do? And I was just total complete meltdown. Then I started contacting the schools again by telephone. I was before I was contacting through email, so I decided to make phone calls this time. And the reason why I made phone calls is because during the summer, a lot of the schools in the area were closed because they were renovating. And then one of the other schools, they were switching principals, and so all these things were going on, and they were like, it's not ideal for you to come in and visit. So hey, that still wasn't an option, even though I was now living in the area. I was making phone calls, and one of the schools that I made a call with, I was like, oh, I was just calling to see, I put in my application and I haven't heard anything. I wonder if there's anything still available. And then the principal that I was talking to was like, they looked over my application. He said, you know, we tried contacting you and we were interested in setting up an interview with you, but we didn't hear anything back when we tried to contact you. And then so I was like, oh, that's so strange. And so I was just thinking to myself, that's really strange. I don't understand how that happened or what happened. And then he read the phone number off to me, and then I realized that my phone number was wrong. I had like my digits switched or flipped or something like that on my phone number. And so at this point I started to get really emotional, and I just thanked him, and he was like, you know, we're sorry this happened. And at this point I knew it was my fault, so I had no one to blame but myself. And so he just told me that they'd keep my application on file if anything else came up. And then we just got off the phone. As soon as I got off the phone, I had a complete meltdown. Like, if I was doubting that I was getting a job before, I was really doubting it now. At this point, there was pretty much no jobs left. So my mom was living in the area, and she did hair, and she like traveled to people's homes and did their hair. And so she met a lot of people in the area. I guess one of her clients, I'm not sure exactly, worked in the school. So she made a phone call or something. And then a little while after, I got a phone call from the school that I really wanted to be at, telling me that they wanted to interview me. They posted a position, and then they wanted me to go ahead and apply for it so that they can go ahead and schedule an interview. So at this point, I was so happy, and the interview was originally for a third grade position. That's what the interview online said. So, you know, I wanted second grade, and third grade is pretty close. So I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I can't believe I got this opportunity. I was so thankful for my mom for helping me, and I just thought, like, I was just so happy at this point. So in my actual interview, I walked in and I met with one of the coaches and the dean of students, which is similar to like a vice principal at another school. And the reason why I didn't have an interview with the principal is because he was new, and so the dean of students was doing all the interviews at this time. First, we just had like a casual conversation just, you know, quickly getting to know each other, which is always nice because it breaks the ice and it makes you a lot less nervous. And so once the interview actually started, they handed me a sheet of paper with a few of the questions on there, and they gave me time to read them through and look over them really quickly, which is super helpful. If you're in an interview and they don't give you the questions, always ask if they'd give you a printout of the questions. And if they don't, I mean, they don't. But it's always, you know, really helpful when they give you the questions printed out, because sometimes they ask you more than one question at once, and then you answer one part and then you forget what the other part is, and it just makes things a whole lot easier. So when I got to the interview and then I read over the questions, I was totally just not prepared for this type of interview. I've been preparing for interview, but I've just been preparing like straight up questions, like maybe like, how do you plan to do centers? How do you plan to deal with differentiated instruction? You know, questions like that. And then the questions that I got were all scenario based questions. I don't really remember what the questions were about at all. So I just remember, for example, it was like, imagine if you were in a class, you had your own class, and that you had a really high students and some extremely low students, you know, mixed into your classroom. How would you handle that? And so I handled that by, you know, saying I would differentiate instructions and how I probably do centers and like that. So they were all scenario-based questions. I walked out of my interview thinking that I did terrible, like, because I was already worried that I didn't know how to answer these questions. I didn't think I did very well, and so I wasn't confident. And then also at this point, they had pretty much hired all the other teachers at all the other schools nearby, at the schools that I was at. So I was not feeling very confident after this interview. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, so when I applied for the job for this interview, it said it was for 3rd grade. But when I got there, they told me that they had just hired the 3rd grade position, that they're actually interviewing me for 2. I was being interviewed for 5th grade, and then I was being interviewed for an ELL type teacher. I think I waited, actually I only waited a week. Yeah, I waited 1 week, being nervous and just still looking for other jobs to interview for, but not being successful, not finding any other ones. So pretty much my whole teaching career was, beginning of my teaching career was holding on to this one job interview that I got so lucky to get. And 2 weeks later, I got the call that I got the job. I was so ecstatic. I felt like someone lifted like 20 pounds off my shoulders. I was so happy and relieved. And then it hit me that I'd be teaching 5th grade. But then I also was excited for a new opportunity because there's so many great things that you can do with 5th grade that you can't really do with the younger grades. So I was just so happy and relieved to get a job, and I couldn't believe that I let myself get in this situation where I almost didn't get hired. And now I'm so happy, and I'm thinking about it. I can't believe that was 7 months ago. Wow, and the school year is almost over. It's just crazy to think about. But anyway, so that's my little story time of my interview experience. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe. You know, as I said all the time, I'm new on YouTube and I could really use the help. Also, please like the videos if you really enjoyed them. You know, that really helps me out. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.